guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah. Let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 18, episode 2. So let's get into it. So y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little bit. And honestly, this one might actually be a short spicy corner. But y'all know I'll say that and then you watch it be like 10 or 15 minutes long. I am so long-winded. But I wanted to talk about Jen's settlement. So In Touch Weekly posted an article on the 15th about her settlement from her husband. Now, I'm not going to read the article, but No Smoke No More, they wrote a summary. So I'm going to read their summary tweet to you guys. But y'all already know the article will be in the description box below, or the link to the article will be in the description box below. So the title of the article says this: RHOC star Jennifer, is it Pederini? Y'all know me and last names. Awarded 6-figure lump sum child support in divorce settlement. So the tweet starts off like this. It says Jennifer Pederini's ex-husband William will pay Jennifer $4,674 per month in child support for the 4 kids. Jennifer agrees the extra child support will be reduced if she receives additional income from Bravo from Real Housewives of Orange County. Jennifer will receive another $1,735 per month in spousal support from William. The support will terminate if Jennifer remarries. Her fiance Ryan Boagi proposed in April. Per the settlement, William was awarded the total net proceeds of $535,000 from the sales of the family home in Lorenda Ranch, California. He walked away with several bank accounts, all in interest in Pederini Construction Management, a 2022 Ford Expedition, a 2016 Frogger Mustang, and a Toyota Tamra. Is it Camry? No, I said Camry, y'all. Toyota Tacoma. I said Tacoma. It goes on to say Jennifer was awarded 2 bank accounts, a retirement account, and all interest in her company, Diva Rebel Yoga. William agreed to pay Jennifer a one-time sum of $267,811 in order to equalize the division of the community assets and debt. Both were awarded all of their money they earned following their split. Jennifer and William wed in October the 21st, 2002. The date of the separation is listed as January the 3rd, 2021. The marriage lasted for a total of 18 years and 4 months. William filed for divorce in March of 2023, weeks before she made her first appearance on Real Housewives of Orange County. Hashtag RHOC sources, Ryan Numa in Touch magazine. Girl, Jen had a crappy lawyer, because that lump sum is cute, but when you think about the bill she has to pay, like $260,000 is not a lot when she owes back rent. I know she owes more than that, and she's getting evicted. And then the child support is not a lot. Like, I did the math on that. That's like $56,000 in a year. And then the spousal support, I did the math on that. That's like $21,000 or $20,000 a year. Like, she did not get a lot out of this, especially to be a stay-at-home wife since 2001 or 2002. That's just wild to me. That is wild to me. And I also don't understand why she would sign an agreement where it basically says that if she starts to make more money, I guess on Bravo, his child support will be reduced. Why? Why should his child support be reduced? If she has if she's spending the most time with them 5 kids, he should be paying more money because of his absence. Like, what? Because my thing is like, that just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know why she would sign that. I definitely wouldn't have signed it, because I think Jen is here to stay, especially with this Shohei Ohtani situation. Like, and Ryan might be getting locked up by the feds. Like, they re-picked up cameras because of this. Jen is staying. The network is going to keep her on until this story ends. And if I was her, I would be trying to renegotiate more money, because you're not going to be filming my life falling apart and not giving me any money. You're just not going to do it. But I think this situation just validates how I feel about Jen. I think Jen is wanting this relationship with Ryan to work out so much so that she is ignoring all the red flags. And that's because this is a new divorce. The fact that like William filed for divorce in March of 2023, I was always under the impression that Jen and her husband had been divorced for like two or 3 years before she got with Ryan. And we know that she messed around with Ryan emotionally, I don't know about physically, before, like, and her husband found out about it, and that's why he filed for divorce and stuff like that. But their relationship was already in a rocky place, not in a good place. But I just feel like she wants this relationship to work out so badly because, she got shunned by her community back at home. Her parents even kind of started treating her some type of way. And I think she's just doing this to prove them wrong, even though she knows Ryan is a walking red flag. She knows this man is a walking red flag. But let's get into this review. So the episode opens up where it left off, where you have Shannon and Alexis, and it's after the whole "there's the door, Shannon Bador." And Shannon is like, Alexis is yelling as she's walking back into the party, being like, you're mad that I have your man. And then Shannon is like, no, girl, I'm glad you're with him. I'm glad you have him. And then Alexis's response to Shannon is, I'm glad he left you. And so Shannon turns around and is like, ugh, and drinks her shit. And she was like, F her, F her, F her. I said, oh, this is stupid. This is stupid. So then everyone that was at the window, you hear Tamara be like, everybody scatter like cockroaches. Move, move, move. And so they all get away from the window. And then Heather goes to Alexis and she's like, girl, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she's like, she wants to argue with me about a 3-year-old lawsuit, not about her boyfriend. Like, that's what the issue is, not about that lawsuit that was settled 3 years ago. And so you then see Tamara come up and be like, well, what did she say? And she was just like, she was going to argue about the lawsuit. And then Tamara's just like, really? Like, I don't know why. It's like, it's over. Like, you didn't have anything to do with it. And she's like, I know. And then they were about to like get into it. But then Heather's like, you know what? I feel awkward. She's standing outside. I'm the hostess. This is my party. I'm going to go check up on her. So we see Heather go outside and talk to Shannon, because I think Shannon's friend, I think like her makeup lady was out there with her making sure she was okay. And Shannon was like, I don't really care that she's with John. My issue is she's the one that kicked off the lawsuit between me and her ex-husband. So she was like, I'm not really a fan of anybody with the last name Bellino. So on the screen, they end up showing reality TV blurred where it says Jim Bellino files a $1 million lawsuit against former RHOC co-stars Tamara Judge and Shannon Bador. And Shannon is really holding on to the fact that she feels like Alexis sending the cease and desist is what truly caused all of this. And I'm just kind of like, I get where Shannon's coming from, but I'm also kind of like, well, Shannon, if it was settled 3 years ago, then, I mean, your issue shouldn't really be with Alexis. It should really be with her ex-husband. And I mean, he was the one that filed it against you. Just because Alexis sent you a cease and desist, that doesn't mean that like she kicked it off. I think, yeah, and I need to read about it again, because I remember it had something to do about them like disparaging his business. And I don't remember, like, I kind of paid it dust because I didn't really care about Alexis, nor did I care about her weirdo husband. But I need to go back and read it, because I feel like low-key Tamara and Shannon might have actually been in the wrong, but I don't know. I don't know. So we see Shannon and we see Alexis and Tamara. They're still talking about it. And then Tamara, I don't know if she was lying, but I feel like she was. So they show these text messages where they find out that, pretty much, that's when everyone found out about Lexus and Johnny J getting together. And Tamara said that she reached out to Shannon to see if she was okay. And so the text message they put on the screen, it says, "Hi, Shannon. I know things are not good between us, but I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you with all of these pictures of John and Alexis going around. I know how hurtful this must be for you. I'm sorry. I hope you are able to enjoy the holiday." Because I think this did all come around like Christmas time or like Thanksgiving or something like that. And so then Shannon responded by saying, "Thank you for the text. Looking forward to spending the holidays with my girls. Merry Christmas." So Tamara's in her confessional being like, "I reached out to make sure that Shannon was okay." She was like, "We not in a good place, but I still care about her." Shannon, however, has a different story, because Shannon ends up saying that like Alexis started posting a lot more on Instagram and was like posting about, her and John together, about the ring and everything. And she saw that Tamara put like clapping emojis underneath the post, and that rubbed Shannon the wrong way. So I guess Shannon reached out to Tamara to be like, "Girl, how you gonna text me trying to make sure I'm okay, but then you underneath homegirl's post, congratulating her." So the next text they show on the screen is this. It says, "Not sure what's going on, but I can say without a shadow of doubt, you would never see me posting applause emojis saying that." And then it got cut off because you know how they do that hyper, they push out the part of the text message. I don't know why they do that. Girl, just make it bigger so I can read it. And it says, "Alexis and John have a lot." Oh, and then Alexis and John have a lot in common. So then I guess Tamara texted her back basically saying, "Grow the F up." And then if part of it says, "Grow the F up. That had nothing to do with you or John." Next. And then it got cut off again. So Shannon's pretty much like Tamara saying that she ain't do all that what she said she did in the confessional. Now, what I can say is, to a certain extent, I kind of get where Tamara's coming from, where she's like, "Girl, I reached out." But like, if she became friends with her, then I guess, I don't know, girl. It's still messy, because technically Alexis didn't do anything to Shannon. Like, it's still a messy and disrespectful situation, because it's like, why are you dating this man that you see me on TV with for the past 3 years? Your ex-husband sued me, put me through a lot of financial straits, and now you dating the man that I was like madly in love with, who was a toxic relationship, but she was still in love. So it is messy, but it's like Alexis didn't break any girl code because her and Shannon weren't friends. If anything, it just makes Alexis look messy, because it's like, out of all the people that are in Orange County, you couldn't find nobody else to mess around with. We then have this scene of Jen basically telling Katie she got evicted. And Katie's face being like, "Oh, okay." So pretty much, I think Emily was writing another wish on the table, and like, on one of the wish cards to put in a little like money box. And Jen comes walking up, and she was like, "Oh," Emily's like, "Oh, girl, I'm a wish that you get you a house and a car." And she was like, "Thank you." So then Katie's like, "Oh, are you moving?" And Jen's like, "Oh no, I'm getting evicted." And the way Katie was like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Girl, stop telling everybody you getting evicted. That is not something you just tell random people." Because now everybody looking at you like, "You ain't got no money? What's going on? What's happening?" So while Jen and Katie and Emily are on one side of the party, we then end up seeing Heather, Tamara, and Gina talking. And Gina pretty much says, "Girl, I feel some type of way about Jen." She was like, "I stuck my neck out there for her, and I got the short end of the stick, and now I'm having problems." So then Heather was like, "Oh, didn't you tell me that you like waived the credit? Like, they didn't check her credit history." And she was like, "Yeah, because I knew she really needed the house." And so everyone's kind of like understanding where Gina is coming from. So we also get this scene where Jen pulls Gina aside to be like, "Hey, we need to talk, because I can tell that there's something wrong. So I just want to talk to you, but not at the party." And Gina's like, "Yeah, we definitely need to talk, but not at the party." Because Gina was like, "I'm not about to ruin another Heather DeBro's party." And then they go back to season 16, where, it was the tea about the, botched boob job. Terry and Heather was pissed and kicked all them people out her house and wasted a whole bunch of good sushi. So we then get this scene of, what's her name? Alexis and Jen talking, and it's the birds talking because both Jen and Alexis are such birds. They're such birds because I'm like, Jen's like, I understand why you feel some type of way about how people talk about John because I feel the same way about Ryan. And she was like, I get like wanting to defend your man because I do that for mine. And she's like, not. And then Alexis like, not wanting to. I will defend my man. I said, calm down, okay. Don't nobody want that man. John ain't got that anybody in this place wants from him. First of all, he don't got the money. Okay. He don't got, that's the bare minimum requirement for all of the, well, I don't know about Gina because Gina with Travis, but let's be honest, he don't got the looks and he don't got the money. So I need Alexis, she up here, take it all the way down here because don't nobody want that man. Alexis, chill, calm your puss, calm it. So while they talking, Shannon and her friend are writing another wish, and she said, "What if I put? I hope I hope John and Alexis have a happy relationship." And Alexis can hear, so then Alexis starts raising her voice, and then Shannon is like, "Can we lower our voices?" And Alexis is like, "Am I too loud for you? Because I don't even think I'm being loud." And she was like, "Yeah, you are loud." Shannon was like, "Yeah, you are loud." I said, "Not you, shush that lady." I said, "Shannon." But Alexis shut up. Alexis shut up. And then she walked away. She walked away and she was like, now that I just got scolded like she's my mother. She's old enough to be my mother. Girl, the people on Twitter, I guess, basically said that they're 13 years apart. So I guess Alexis is like 47 and Shannon is like 60 or something like that, or maybe 46, 59, I don't know. But the Shannonettes were online being like, girl, the Bedores were like, girl, you're only 13 years apart and Shannon looks better than you, by the way. They was eating Alexis up on Twitter. I said, oh, Alexis. But then Alexis brings up about how she's no longer going to allow people to shush her, because I do remember her husband was a stifling, controlling dickwad. Okay, that conversation about like we become one, you need to stay at the house, drink to the face, because you don't tell me what to do. So I get her being like, no one's gonna tell me to be quiet. Then she tried to do like, I can weather this storm or this tornado. I said, Alexis, stop with these rehearsed reads because they don't flow out of your mouth. Girl, just say what you want to say in the moment. So then they're like, okay, it's time to sit down and eat. So the other side of the party is this really pretty setup. It's like a U-shaped table. So in the center of the table, or in the front of the table, is the money box. So everyone gets in. Alexa's like, I'm gonna go first. And I guess the first question was like, what do you want for 2024, like as it pertains to like friendship? And she was like, I'm hoping me and Shannon could be friends, okay? And Shannon is like, this Shannon in her confessional was like, girl, she's not a good actress because there's no way we gonna be friends after the way you just spoke to me like that. I'm cool on you. So then as she's sitting down, Tamara tells, because Alexis and Tamara are sitting next to each other, and she's like, I think you have to stop banging her ex-boyfriend. So everyone laughs at the table. Katie says under her breath, she said what we was all thinking. And then you could tell that it hurt Shannon. Like she was kind of like, oh, so this is what we doing. This is how we doing. So Shannon is like, this is a lot. So then Tamara gets up and she goes into the booth, and I guess it's a question about like what don't you want anymore? And it was something about people talking behind her back. And then Shannon was like, I do not talk behind her back. And so Shannon is like, she's actually kind of getting uncomfortable. So before Shannon leaves the table, they're talking about the ring, but that's because Heather's question was like, what's your favorite piece of jewelry or something like that? And she brought up like an engagement ring that Terry got for her, where she was like, she didn't really like it, but it means a lot to her. So then they start asking Alexis about her ring that John got for her. And she was like, isn't it like a promise ring or is it an engagement ring? She was like, the picture said not engagement, #promised. And so Emily is like, but isn't that a promise ring? And Alexis like, it's not a promise ring. It's a ring. We're promised to each other. Alexis wasn't making any sense because I was like, ma'am, it is a promise ring. So if it wasn't a promise ring, it could have just been jewelry. Why did you put #not engaged, #promised? And so then you have Gina being like, oh, so are you planning on marrying him? And Alexis was like, mm-hmm. And Gina was like, Y'all just met like 3 minutes ago. Are you serious? Like, you seriously want to marry him? And Jenna was just like, okay. So then that's when Shannon gets up because she's like, I'm uncomfortable, which makes sense. So as she gets up, I saw when Tamara got up from the table to go follow Shannon, I said, oh, this is about to be mess because that's all that Tamara brings. So Tamara and her are outside talking, and Shannon is like, this is uncomfortable for me. This is a lot. And they start arguing back and forth, but because Tamara said that she heard that Shannon was speaking negatively about her, because Shannon was like, I know you think I'm talking about you, but I'm not. And Tamara was like, that's not what I heard. I heard you said I had an ego, that I'm not a good friend, that I'm not to be trusted. And I'm like, those are all true, Tamara. And this, and this. Then when she's told Shannon she wasn't a good person, I said, you not allowed to tell nobody that. You not allowed to tell nobody. That montage they showed last episode of all the things that you have done to people, Tamara, you're not allowed to tell anybody they're not a good person, ma'am. You're just, and then that son of yours, January the 6th, you can't say you're a good person. You can't, okay? You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it, okay? You're just not gonna do it. So Shannon is just like, Shannon said, the only thing I said about you is that when it comes to Tres Amigas, everything is built around you. It's always built around your schedule. And she was like, and I said, because you're always busy. And then Shannon was like, well, do you want to have a sit down conversation? And Tamara was like, no, I don't want to have no sit down conversation because you're not a good person and you're not going to be accountable. You're not going to say sorry. So then Shannon was like, okay, girl. So she sits down, and when she sits down, she tells her makeup artist, Tamara just told me I wasn't a good person. I wasn't this, I wasn't that. And the makeup artist is like, she know how to kick people when they down. And they were like, yeah. And then that scene actually ended after that because they do a toast about new beginnings for 2024. So the next couple of scenes, let's talk about that. So we have this scene of Gina showing basically, let's round up, a $1.4 million condo. It's like 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. And I think the reason why it cost that much is possibly the neighborhood and how close it was to the beach. I'm going to be honest, I have a friend that has a home basically the same as this. And I was like, I know for a fact she ain't pay that much money. But then I know the cost of living is, I live on the East Coast, they live on the West Coast. She live in California, we live in North Carolina. That's a different thing. But I was just like, girl, if I spend $1.4 million on like a property, that needs to be a home. Like an actual, like I need a backyard, I need a front yard. I need a driveway long enough for me to fit 4 or 5 cars in it. I need more than 4. I need about a good 6, 5 or 6 rooms and 4 bathrooms, not 4 rooms and 3 bathrooms. And one of them bathrooms is a half a bathroom. No. And my closet needs to be a closet. Okay. So she's showing that. Mind you, her outfit, Gina, I'm so mad that Gina still has not upgraded her style. Like, them shoes she had on, I said, they look like they were 3 sizes too big. I said, what in the clown shoes are those, Gina? What are those? So, what's it called? Oh, so then we have this scene of Kate, Jen, and Shannon. They're exercising. I don't think Kate knew that they were supposed to be exercising because she brung a purse, and it was a pretty big size purse, like maybe about like that big. And I think she also had like a jean jacket with her. And so at first she was going up and down the steps. Then she had that jacket. I know she was hot. And then we even find out in her confessional, she was like, girl, I don't like working out. I'm lazy. And I was like, I understand. So it's pretty much evident that Jen likes Alexis and John together because even on Watch What Happens Live, she was on there. She was on there recently. She was talking about how, one of the questions that were asked to her was like, do you think Alexis and John are like in game? Like, do you think that like what they're portraying to us is real? And she was like, yeah, I think they're going to get married. And then for her to ask Shannon, like, I've been looking at John's page and it looks like he's aging backwards and like always smiling. Why would you tell someone you're supposed to be friends with that their ex is happy that they not with them? And you clearly know it bothers Shannon. So it's given that Jen likes Alexis because Shannon tried to give some like half-ass explanation about how John didn't like his teeth. So he didn't smile as much. But like when they showed the pictures side by side, he was smiling when he was with Shannon. It's just like his smile is a lot fuller because he got new veneers. And she was like, "Oh, it's because he got his teeth done that he smiles a lot more." And I said, honestly, girl, he looked the same to me. But then you got Jen in her confessional being like, "I honestly think it's Jesus Jug. She's very pretty." And I'm like, "Okay, Jen, we get it. You like Alexis." Okay. Cause y'all are birds. Y'all are birds. So as they're walking, they ask Katie, like, "So tell us about you." Katie ends up being like, she's glad she's getting to know Shannon because she was like, that mess at Heather's party was a lot. So she was like, she was a like sports commentator. That's how she met her second husband that we meet in the episode. They've been married for 7 years. And I think he also was a sports commentator, specifically in golf. Same with her. He's been trying to force her to like learn how to play golf, but she not into it like that. She was like, no, I don't want to learn. We also find out that the where she met Heather was actually at Sutton's Christmas party. And she keeps bringing that up because I think Shannon was like, "Oh, do you know Heather?" She was like, "I met her, but she ain't, she basically paid me dust." I said, like, she didn't come say hi to me. She looked at me and walked away. She not gonna let that go. Katie not letting it go. She felt like that lady snubbed her. So then Shannon was just like, "Yeah, me and Heather are up and down, but I'm going to talk to her." And then she says, "Me and Gina are good," because I think Katie was like, "So are you good with anybody else in the group?" And she was like, "Well, I spoke to Gina and Emily, and we had a good conversation." That's when she talked about Heather. So then that segues into Jen, where she's like, "Well, Jen, enough about me. Let's talk about you. Like, what's going on with you?" And Jen pretty much brings up how it kind of bothers her that Emily was the one to tell her about like was scolding her about her eviction. She was like, she wouldn't know any of that information but she only knows that information because of Gina. Like, Gina is the I don't like the fact that she's going around speaking about my situation. And so they do the flashback when we saw on the first episode with Emily, Jen, and Tamara, where Emily, I mean, was it a lot? Yeah, but Emily was like, "Why would you purchase a house you can't afford?" That's a valid question. That's a valid question. And then Tamara even had a valid question. "So, girl, who co-signed or who signed for you?" And she was like, "My dad." And I was like, okay, Jen. Okay. So Jen pretty much is like, "I'm gonna have to talk to Gina because I don't like this." So then they ask her about Ryan, and they were like, "So have you moved in with Ryan?" She's like, "Yeah, we moved in with me and the kids moved in with Ryan." So then they ask her like, "So what does Ryan do for work?" The way both Katie and Shannon had that smile of like, "Oh, she's stupid." Like that, like, cause she was like, "Oh, I don't know what he does for work." They both, I know they wanted to be like, "What do you mean you don't know what he does? You've been together with him for like 3 or 4 years. Like, girl, what do you mean?" And she was like, he used to, I think she said he used to do realtoring, and then now he buys investment properties. But honestly, when he wakes up, he does what he wants to do. When, he chooses what he wants to do every day. And it was just the way they both were like smiling that like, "Oh, she dumb." Cause Jen to me is a person that likes to be willfully ignorant, because there's no way I would move my kids and I into a home with my boyfriend and I don't know specifically what he does. Like, you just got out of a situation where you did not know like that your ex-husband William was not paying the rent, and then y'all got evicted. Like, you came into the game late by wanting to be a part of the text message conversations in the middle of the game. That is something you should have been a part of in the beginning. You should have known you pay my rent on the first of every month. Okay, and by the fifth, you getting a late fee. But I'm just kind of looking at her like, you're repeating the same patterns. Like, why are you moving in with somebody and you don't know what they do for real, for real? Like, that would give me pause. Because I'd be like, are you a street pharmacist like my daddy says? Like, is your fraud in the government? Like, what are we doing? So I needs to know everything so I can make an educated decision, okay? As the ladies are like walking on the beach, they go back to the scene with Gina where she's selling the home, and she's on FaceTime with Emily. And basically she tells Emily she really got to talk to Jen because this situation is really pissing her off. And they're like, "Why?" And Emily's like, "Why, girl? Like, what happened?" So Gina ends up explaining that there was another realtor trying to sell this home. Gina saw it and was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I know some people that could come stay there." And they were looking for like a cash offer. And I guess, they had to check check all the boxes and all of that stuff. And she was like, the person never got back to her. Like the other realtor, she never contacted Gina. And she was like, I'm out of $50 because I helped Jen. And I saw some people say that Gina is overdoing it, saying that like they're also realtors and this has never happened to them. And two things can be true. Could someone who's already a realtor who's like, this is not that deep, be like, she doing too much? And could this actually be happening to her because of her helping out Gina? Yeah. No, not Gina, helping out Jen? Yeah. I feel this way. I kind of feel like, yeah, I think Gina is doing too much, but I also look at it in the way of like, most people don't respect housewives like, especially if they're not in the entertainment industry. I think housewives get the most respect when they are in the entertainment industry, or they're a part of like some like service industry, like hospitality, like if you're open up in like a spa or a restaurant, or you're trying to get into acting or singing. I feel like they get a lot of respect there. But when it comes to like regular jobs like realtor stuff, I don't think they get that much respect, because there's a too many realtor shows where we know these people don't be selling houses. They just be playing games. And maybe Gina has been trying really hard to fight that like stigma, and this just added to it, because they probably do be like, I mean, I bet you the realtor community might be small there, but I do understand other people who are like a part of that industry being like, it's not that deep and she doing a lot. But that doesn't mean she hasn't been like she hasn't lost things because of helping Jen out. You know what I'm saying? So Gina's just like, I have to speak to her. So we then finally get more information about Kate. We find out that she was adopted. Her other two siblings are also adopted. She was the only Korean in her family. And I felt bad for her, because I hate when people of other races or ethnicities or other cultures adopt children and they don't take the time to like educate themselves so they can educate those children. Like, she got adopted by a white family in a white area where she even said she knew she was different, and no one taught her about her heritage. Like, they should have been taking her to like the cultural like, because I mean, California has a huge cultural population. I don't know if she is originally from California, but they have, did I say California has a huge cultural population? They do, but I'm saying they have a huge Asian population. So I just think it's kind of like, I always get mad when I hear people who are adopted and they're adopted by a family and they don't take the time to like help this child like navigate through their history and their cultural differences of their like siblings or of their parents. I can just feel like that does the child like a huge disservice. Like, I'm not saying that I think like white people shouldn't adopt like other races of kids, but I feel like if you are going to adopt a child that is of a different race or of a different ethnicity, it is on you to educate yourself so that you can help that child be well-rounded, because they're already kind of starting at a disadvantage because they don't have their biological parents. So that's probably already weighing on them at that. And then they're in a new community around people that don't look like them, and they're supposed to like construct their own self-worth off of that. So I was just like, I don't like that. I don't like it. So, we also find out that she has 4 kids. Now, Katie had to come and clear it up for us because her explanation of where all her kids were was confusing. So we find out that her oldest child and her youngest child live with her and her new husband, or her current husband, in OC. And it's Bandon, he's like 7 or 6, and then you got the oldest daughter, she's like 19. I think her name is Kaylee. And then she has 2 other kids. There's Gavin, and he lives back where they used to live in San Diego because he wanted to finish out the school year. And then there is Max. Max lives on the other side of the country in Georgia, in Atlanta, with his dad full time. She then explains that Kaylee sees Matthew, which is Katie's husband, as her father because she feels like she was abandoned by her other dad, by her like actual father. So she feels like Matthew adopted her. Now, the part that was confusing to me is I thought she had 3 different baby daddies. Like, I thought Gavin and Kaylee came from her first relationship because they're both like 17 and like 19. Then I thought Max had a different father because he living full time with that parent in Atlanta. And, Bandon is with her current husband. But she said no. She's only been married twice. Her first husband is all the current three kids. So she said this on Instagram. She said, "Let me clear this up about my kids. With my first husband, we had Kaylee, Gavin, and Max. With my current husband, we have one, Bandon. Kaylee, Gavin, and Bandon are with us full time. Max chose to live in Atlanta with his dad, more full time, but comes to California for school breaks. Gavin stays in our San Diego home to finish his school year. Our 28-year-old niece moved in. He was back and forth between Newport Beach and San Diego. Matt also worked from the San Diego home office 3 to 4 days a week with Gavin. Do I wish Max was with us full time? Yes, but I am supportive of whatever he thinks is best for his life." So that's kind of like weird to me. And the only reason why I say that is if Kaylee feels abandoned by the same father, but the youngest one is like, I'd rather be with my father. To me, there's more to this story than what's being told to us. Because I feel like most of the times kids band together. And if you got two kids who are like, oh, we want to be with mom, and the youngest one is like, I'm going with my daddy, that tells me there's more to this story than not. There's more to this. But, we meet her family. Nice family. Nice little family. So we then get this scene of Emily, Shannon, and what's her name? Emily, Shannon, and Gina going to play like flag football. We find out that they're going to have a flag football game and everybody's invited. Emily feels some type of way because they're there with coaches to like learn. They're in like some underground gym. And Emily is kind of irritated that Gina is actually good at it because Gina don't work out. But Emily's like, I be in the gym 5 days a week and she can do it. Some people just have natural talent. So the three of them decide to sit down on the turf and talk. And so Emily lets it be known that she's inviting everybody to the flag football game. We also find out that her daughter is actually like playing and she's actually good at it. And that's why Emily came up with this idea. And so Gina was just like, Shannon, you better than me, because she was a lot at the party talking about Alexis. So they do a flashback scene where Alexis has that same aggressive ass energy that she had with Emily when she confronted Emily about calling John a douche on Tamara's podcast. So Gina was like, they had kind of the same confrontation about what John did at Gina's launch party. And like I told y'all, I was on John's side last season, and I still am, because I felt like Gina played in Shannon's face during season 16. Now, was John doing a lot? Being like, F her, she's not your friend no more, Shannon. He was. But I understood that energy, because it was like, you playing in my girlfriend's face, and I know she been good to you. That's where it came from. It was still mad aggressive, and he should have kept it to himself, but I understood. So Gina was like, she a lot. She not really that. She a lot. Okay. So definitely Gina is on Shannon's side. So then Shannon was like, he was just hungry. And she was like, girl, what? So then they start talking about the situation that happened with Shannon and the DUI. And Shannon gets visibly emotional. She starts kind of like breaking down. And she basically is like, you know what? I was riding you, not understanding how chaotic and how like debilitating this situation has been for me. After I got the DUI, yeah, I was drinking, but then when I went to the wellness clinic, I pretty much like eased up on it. And she was like, I just can't believe I did this to myself, and I was coming at you that way. They do a flashback with Gina about, when she had her situation where the guy basically told her, you going to get your license suspended for a year. And she was crying about it. Shannon is full on in tears. It's making Gina emotional because Gina was like, I understand where you've been, so I'm not going to kick you when you down. But it's just kind of like, I'm glad she finally understands where I'm coming from. Now, I kind of feel some type of way, because I feel like had this not happened to Shannon, she would still be giving Gina that smoke. On top of, I don't know how genuine this is from Shannon, because right now Shannon walked into this season with nobody on her side. Like, she pissed off Emily, she pissed off Heather, she pissed off Gina, she pissed off Tamara, and Taylor was no longer a friend of the show. The only person she was somewhat cool with was Jen. So I do feel like she's like trying to like gain allies realize, but I'm hoping that she's being genuine about understanding the issues and the things that Gina was going through and how it was pretty much messed up for you to constantly bring up that you helped her and they're talking about CPS and all of that stuff when it was like, you feel the way I feel now, girl. You know my pain. You know my pain. So then we get this scene of Tamara and Eddie. I guess they're somewhere in Big Bear. We find out that, her grandchild is her birthday and all of this stuff. Didn't really care about that, especially not Mr. January the 6th. Okay. I have never forgotten that. I have never forgotten. I'm not going to say it because I feel like I'm mixing something together, but I do remember some, like, his ex posting a picture of him threatening her, and I was like, yeah, I don't like him. But, Tamara's son. So they're sitting down at the table. Tamara gets emotional about Shannon because Eddie was like, how was the thing? Did you talk to Shannon? And she makes a face like, no. And she was just like, my issue isn't anything about Trace Amigas. My thing is, like, I wanted her to take accountability. And Tamara started fake crying. She was like, I wanted her to own up to the fact that, like, she's lying about everything. You're telling me you're not taking drinks. You are drinking. You're doing 2 drinks. Like, I thought this situation would wake her up, and it's too much. It's too much. It's just too much. And I like how Eddie was like, that's her plight to bear, not yours. So you don't have to be friends with her. Then they started talking about, what's it called? About Jen. But before they start talking about Jen, we found out that Eddie wants to move to Big Bear, but Tamara's like, I like the vibe of OC. Like, I like having the opportunity to go back and forth to places. I just don't want to stay in Big Bear, which makes sense. So then they flash back to the gym scene again, where they talk about old girl getting evicted, about Jen getting evicted, and, Tamara being like, it'll work out. But then Tamara sitting at the table tells her that, like, the difference between me and Jen is, like, when I understand, like, your husband is the breadwinner, you get a divorce. I got off my ass and I did something about it. I went to work. Jen is over here twiddling her thumbs, and it's been 3 or 4 years since she knew she was getting a divorce. I don't get it. Now, the thing about it that's weird is, like, in the Spicy Corner, I read to y'all that it said that the husband, William, filed for divorce in March of 2023. So I guess either what they're trying to say is that they had been separated, so Jen knew it was coming, and then he filed for divorce, or if it was just kind of like, girl, the writing was on the wall, you should have been prepared. But Tamara being like, girl, it was almost 3 to 4 years, like, you know what was coming, or like, it's been that long and you still haven't found your footing. Eddie, being the voice of reason, was like, well, maybe everything that she going through is just stopping her right now, because normally when Jen sets her mind to something, she actually does it. So maybe that's just what it is. So then Tamara is like, do you think it has anything to do with Ryan? And Eddie's like, yeah. She was like, he ends up saying, when you hang out with people that lie and tell stories, you start to do it too. So they still not feeling Ryan. And I mean, it makes sense. But they feel like the reason why Jen ain't really got her stuff together is because of Ryan. The scene we get is of Jen and her kids have been officially moved into Ryan's home. It's a nice home. It's a very nice home. But all I hear in my mind is embezzled. Shouts out to Angela White, aka she used to be Black China. But, like, I hear police sirens. I hear clank, clank. Like, I really do hope the money that he has to have this home is not in that other man's, the baseball player, is it Otani, Shohei Otani. I hope that's not paying for that man's house. I hope that is not paying for Ryan's house. I hope that man got all his $17 million back from that grimy man stealing from him, okay? I had Jen. I like Jen. I want to, like, the thing is, like, I want to like Jen, but Jen does things that I just find to be utterly stupid. And for her, like she said, to be 46 years old, it's just like, I feel like you can't have a bird mentality at 46. I don't like it. Okay. Because this is the thing. So they're at the house. Mind you, the little boy, I thought when Jen was on the phone with whoever was on the phone with Dominic, I thought Dominic was her oldest child. And then we end up seeing him, and they're talking about taking pictures of the liquor cabinet because he went over there to look at what was in the liquor cabinet. But we find out that Dominic is the youngest one, and he was on, like, some dirt bike. Luckily, he had on a helmet, but she was on the phone being like, you're out there by yourself, and he hung up on her. She was way too calm. They both had serious faces when he came in there and like forced him to apologize. But like, had that been me and I hung up on my mama and I was on a dirt bike by myself, I was like, my phone would have been taken. Like for at least a day or two, and I wouldn't be able to ride that dirt bike for probably like a week or so. But I'm like, yeah, somebody need to be watching him, because the fact that he hung up with her with the quickness, he get into stuff. Dominic gets in this stuff. So we end up seeing her mom and dad. All the kids are excited to see them. And what's weird to me, oh no, I won't say weird, but what's interesting to me is like now her family like wants to be more involved, because we know last season she told us about them pretty much ostracizing her once she broke up with Will or decided to get a divorce from Will. And I wonder if Will started showing his ass and they was like, oh, we see why you had to leave him, because her family does get very conservative. Because I'm just kind of like, why would you be mad at your daughter for divorcing a man if she didn't want to be with him? But they're all in the kitchen. The kids have left. And she starts having a conversation with her parents and Ryan there. And she was just like, I'm glad you guys are here. The kids seem more settled with you guys around because y'all are home. And then the dad is like, we appreciate Ryan for allowing you to come and stay. And then she just starts crying. And she's like, you know what, Dad? Like, you saved me, Dad. Like, legit. Like, you saved me. Like, if you hadn't stepped in, I don't know where I would be. And then the mom is being like, well, you found Ryan. And then the dad was like, yeah, you did the right thing. You called me. And then she's like, but I shouldn't have had to find Ryan. I'm 46. I should be able to do these things on my own. And the dad's hugging on her and telling like, it's okay. We're going to figure it out. And this is where I have an issue with Jen. I feel like I wouldn't be so irritated by her decision to move in with Ryan if it was just her by herself. If it was just Jen at 46 years old by herself moving in with scammy Ryan, I would be fine. But you're 46 moving into a house with like 4 kids. Because I think she has an older son and maybe he's like in college or something like that, or living out on his own. But it's just like you're moving in there with your children and your kids have already told you that they just want a place that they can call home. And you're moving in with someone that you and I both know is not going to last. And then now with this money situation and possibly being linked to this case, it's crazy because Jen said on Watch What Happens Live, she's still living with Ryan. Why? And I kind of have to give credit to, Walmart Gina and Tamra, because what they're saying is true. Like, you have to start doing stuff for yourself. Like, this should be a wake-up call that, like, you can't solely depend on, like, the men in your life other than your daddy, because, that's what daddies do, I know I could call my daddy and be like, hey, he gonna come and get me. And that's a good thing to have, but you also should be able to do these things on your own. And I just feel like Jen, she's willfully ignorant, and I think she's used to people saving her. And I'm just kind of like, at this point, you have to save yourself. I wish she would have just bought a condo for herself. Like, if she got 4 kids, if she could have found like a 5-bedroom or like a small little 5-bedroom house, or maybe a 4-bedroom house where she could have her own room. Maybe, but don't nobody want to live with no 10-year-old. So let's say a 5-bedroom house, and she has her room. The little girl, the daughter has her room. The oldest son has his room. Then like the other 2 kids have their own room, and she build from there. I'd be totally with it, but I just feel like moving in with Ryan just puts her at such a disadvantage, because it's like, you got to stop depending on these men to take care of you, because your husband showed you he not to be trusted. Because I don't understand how you let the mother of your kids get evicted. I can understand you having issues with her and she get evicted, but not them children. Like, your goal and your priority should be to make sure your kids are okay. And the fact that your daughter was at that table crying about, I just want to feel like a place that's home, says that you have not secured, like, you have not given them stability. And that's a fault on both Jen and her ex-husband, William. We have to sit down between Heather and Shannon. They're at this restaurant. They make a joke about wanting to be next to the heater. And then they talk about catching on fire. And then you see a bunch of sirens go past. But what was funny about it was they brought up when Shannon's hair caught on fire. That was a mess. That was a mess. And they showed Vicky trying to smack Shannon. ah. So Heather's like, I wanted to talk to you because that was a lot at the party. And so they show like Alexis talking about like sex that she had with John. And Heather was just like, I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And Shannon appreciated it. And then they actually got to why they were there. Heather was like, I need you to like stop questioning my friendship with you. Anything that I have said to you about like that's been in our vaults, I've never told anybody yet. And I actually believe that Heather never told Tamra or anybody about the stuff that was going down with John and Shannon. The only time she started talking was in the confessional after it was made known that Shannon wasn't fooling with Heather. And I was like, that's Shannon's fault. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Shannon had every right to get her lick back at Heather after season 16 with Noella. Because Heather was not the nicest to Shannon. So I understood why Shannon kind of had issues with Heather in season 17. But I'm like, for you to just jump on the bandwagon of Tamra, who you have like evidence, like visual evidence from season to season of how she don't care about nobody but herself, and you jump ship on Heather to go be friends with Tamra. Shannon, I don't have sympathy for you. I don't, because like Tamra is a snake, is a certified snake. Like she been a snake since 2010. We in 2024, girl. 14 years of snakery. Just snakeness, okay? And you stop being friends with Heather to be friends with her. But Tamra hopped online to vindicate herself, because in this conversation, Shannon was like, well, Tamra basically was telling me you was telling her everything about my relationship with John. And I'm like, we never saw Heather do that. We saw everyone talk about John, but it was very like surface things of what they saw about him. It was never anything truly personal. And on top of that, we have to remember that Emily stated that Shannon would call people drunk as a skunk, telling them her business. So I'm like, girl, you might have told on yourself to other people and just thought it was Heather. And Shannon was like, well, Tamra, that's what Tamra was telling me. And Heather was just like, I'm just looking at her like, girl, I've never told your business, even when I had opportunities to. And Shannon was like, well, I'm sorry that I doubted you. And Shannon was like, well, I'm saying I'm sorry. And Heather was like, I don't need a sorry. I need you to believe that I wouldn't do no shiesty stuff to you like that. Well, Tamra hopped online to like vindicate herself, I guess. She said this on the July the 18th. She said, the reason why I was so mad at Heather last year had a lot to do with off-camera conversations. Shannon told me that Heather was saying bad stuff about me during season 16, including that she was only friends with me because she was afraid of me. Other than what was brought up on camera last season, I didn't say anything else to Shannon. #RHOC. I don't know, because Shannon talked too much and Tamra ain't to be trusted. So I could see them both talking badly or poorly about Heather, and then now they're turning on each other because they're not friends anymore. Because I was irritated last season the way Shannon just was like, I'm gonna be cool with Tamra. After Tamra, before she got on the show, was dog walking you on social media, but now all of a sudden you want to be friends with her. That irritated me so badly. That irritated me so badly last season. So then we have this scene of Emily, Gina, and Katie meeting up at like some like beachside restaurant. And what we find out is that Emily had been hanging out with Katie before she was introduced to the whole entire group, because Katie and Gina had been hanging out. So Emily brings up how, well, she went on a walk with Shannon and Jen, and she was like, Jen was actually kind of upset because she felt like you've been spreading her business about her eviction. And Gina's like, how was I spreading her business about her eviction when she posted it on the internet? Like, she's trying to play the blame game, and the only person she needs to blame is herself, because I do nothing of the sorts. And so Emily kind of brings up that like, yeah, we found it was not that hard to figure out that like she wasn't living there anymore, especially when she posted it online. And so Gina ends up saying like, if she messes with my money, I'ma F her up. I said, Gina, get that bass out your voice, because ain't nobody scared of you. Nobody is scared of you, Gina. She's like, I think, was it my money? No, I think it was my career. She said, if she messes with my career, I'm going to F her up. Girl, shut up, Gina. Because I understand why she's upset. But girl, get that bass out your voice. So the last scene of the episode was Gina and Jen finally meeting up to have a conversation. Gina was so irritated and aggressive. Like Gina was acting like she had got scheduled to work Black Friday at Walmart and she just did not want to be there. Like the irritation. Cause the moment Jen walks into the coffee shop, she's like, hey. Like it wasn't even like a very welcoming hey. Side note, all those people that were sitting in the back are better than me because I'd have been sitting on the table like, eviction. She need to pay her bill. Like I could never be a background actor because I would just be like, girl, you hear what she say? So they're at this coffee shop. They sit down and Jen is like, well, I need to know why you mad at me because I don't get why you're mad at me. And Gina pretty much says like, girl, me helping you out has pretty much kind of ruined my reputation. And Jen is like, how? Like I'm the one getting evicted and I don't appreciate you telling everybody that I'm getting evicted or and you're supposed to be my realtor. And Gina's like, well, girl, you posted online that you're moving. It's not that hard. And she said, that's the only way I really knew you were moving. And on top of that, girl, they CC'd me to the emails of like, you not paying your rent, sis. So like, what is all of this about? And then I guess Gina got fed up and just went like, I mean, she went in. And I mean, what the thing about it is like what Gina said was true. Stop relying on these men. You need to grow up and start finding out a way to sustain yourself. You need to do more of these yoga classes. Do them outside, indoors, everywhere. Offer them at the rec center, the YMCA. Girl, be on somebody's retreat. You know, maybe you need to get you a YouTube channel and start performing on there. But you need something, Jen, instead of just relying on these men. And then what really, I think, set Gina off that being an irritated move is she could tell that Jen had on new clothes, like her hair was freshly done, and she had a full face of glam. And she was like, at least pretend like you struggling because that's a slap in the face. And they're going back and forth. Jen is trying to speak, but Gina is not letting her speak. And then when Jen tries to speak, Gina's like, you're not going to let me talk. I don't want to do this no more. So she gets up, she calls Jen a clown and walks out the thing. And she was like, this is bullshit. She not going to have me circling the drain and ruining my reputation off of her. Man, F all of that. And you could tell that Jen wanted to cry. Like she was fighting back tears because her face was very much like, cause she just couldn't believe that Gina read her for filth like that. And I don't think she was expecting that type of energy from Gina because of how helpful she was in the beginning. And my thing about it is like two things can be true. I can understand Gina being pissed. Like I would be pissed too if I stuck my neck out there for you only to get burned. And now it's jeopardizing my reputation. And I'm using this money to pay and take care of my kids because I don't think Gina makes that much. Word on the curve is Gina is only making $60K allegedly. And she hasn't had a pay increase since she came on the show. Somehow Emily supposedly got a pay increase, but the top 3 people making the most money off of this show, as it states, is Shannon, Heather, and Tamara. Like they're making the most. And so I think not Emily, but Gina's perspective is like, I filmed this and I get this check right here, this cute, nice check. But then like the rest of the years, months where I'm not filming, I have to make like money off of these houses. And this is how I'm taking care of my family. And you're not going to jeopardize that. But I also understand what Jen is saying, because Jen even said, girl, just because Gina was like, you got a full face of glam, this, and this, like you need to be spending money on other things. And Jen is like, just because my hair wasn't falling apart like yours doesn't mean I'm not struggling. And that's true. Just because my struggle or the way I wear my struggle is different than you doesn't mean that I'm not struggling. Like I don't have to perform struggle for you to know that I'm struggling. If I tell you I'm struggling, just take my word for it. But I can understand everyone kind of looking at Jen like, why are you dependent on Ryan? You was dependent on Will and see what it got you. So I do think Jen has to start making better decisions. And I do believe Jen is woefully ignorant, but it's also like right message, wrong messenger, because I think a lot of people thought Gina was going to be more sympathetic and have more compassion and empathy for Jen because she's been where Jen has been. And now Gina is acting like the way Shannon was acting, where she's pretty much like belittling and demeaning her, like scolding her. And it's like, she's a grown adult, you're a grown adult. Don't nobody want to be scolded by their friend about the decisions that they have made. Like, it is what it is. But I feel like a lot of people thought Gina was being aggressive. She was. But I understood where she was coming from. Like, do I think she did too much? Yeah. Yeah, girl, you should have let Jen speak and you should just said your piece. Like, I helped. All Gina had to say is, I helped you out because you got evicted. It's screwing me over. And I'm irritated by that because I feel like every time I help somebody out, I get shafted. And you are one of the people now added to that pile that I got shafted, and left it at that. But now it just feels like Gina just wants to feel superior to somebody else because she no longer the brokest one on the show. Y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and definitely hop down in them comments below. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.